Hey, GW coming to you live. Hey, I know I'm a little bit late on this one, and I know 4th of July was a little while ago, and I just watched a perfect horror movie that would be very fitting to the 4th of July holiday, and some of you guys may have heard it. It's called Uncle Sam. If you haven't heard about it, it was done by William Lustig. He directed it, and of course, he directed the slasher masterpiece Maniac, which really changed the face of horror, modern horror for good. Um, and let's see, it was written by Larry Cohen. Uh, Larry Cohen, if you guys don't know that, he's the director of such movies as Q the Winged Serpent and one of my favorite Killer Cool Whip movies called The Stuff. Very, very interesting, very low budget, very entertaining, very crazy. And Larry Cohen's movies are, you know, basically about a monster, but there's underwhelming social issues going on there that he deals with in his films too. Very, very cool. So we're going to talk about this latest collaboration. It's called Uncle Sam. Now this is an older movie. Uh, this was first brought out in 1997, and it's got a lot to it, guys. And I kept dismissing this as a stupid B, C, D movie till I finally watched it and realized that it's a very entertaining, very gory hack and slash movie, or slasher film, if you will. And it's about a army sergeant in Kuwait who was shot down. He was a helicopter gunner and he got shot down by friendly fire. And basically comes back to the town he grew up in, Twin Falls, Twin Oaks. I think it's Twin Falls. Whatever it is. He comes back and starts declaring war on draft dodgers, people that talk bad about the government, people that deface tombstones, people that burn flags. So basically, he's like, there's a moral aspect here, you know. Um, Now, the movie stars William Smith, David Shark Freilich as Lieutenant Sam Harper, which the makeup effects for his zombie character are very, very cool. Jodie Baker is played by Christopher Ogden. Sally Baker is played by Leslie Neal. Sergeant Twinning is played by Bo Hopkins. Phil is played by Matthew Flint. Lewis Harper is played by Anne Tremco. Rounding out the cast is Isaac Hayes and PJ Souls, which you guys might remember is a Halloween album. She's a very cool actress, I think. But there really isn't much story here other than the fact that Sam goes after people, like I said, that just deface and talk bad about the government. Now, now let's talk about the bulk of the story other than the killings. Um, Sam Harper, I would imagine, is the little kid. Little kid wants to grow up and be. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm wrong. There's a little kid, Uncle Sam's nephew in the movie, who wants to grow up to be just like him. Thinks he's the greatest All American in history of the Army, super soldier, whatever. And he idolizes him. Not knowing that you hear hints of backstory that Uncle Sam was not the greatest when it came to marriages. He apparently uh, abused his wife and her sister, and basically had a mean streak. And he's told this by Jed Crowley, Isaac Hayes' character. And as soon as Uncle Sam comes home and the blood-soaked rampage begins, you kind of see he's a ruthless killer. He rivals anything that Jason Voorhees has done. Speaking of gore, we're going to jump right into it. There is all kinds of gore in this film. a lot of surprising gore, as a matter of fact, for a movie that I think went direct to video. I'm not sure. But let's talk about some of the gory scenes. You have, from the very get go, you have a burned up helicopter pilot, Sam. You have a hanging. You have a very wicked scene of the aftermath of a hatchet going into a head, which is done very, very well. You have a beheading that is done really wickedly, and it should be noted that it's anything out of a Mortal Kombat game. You have a burial. You have an off-camera mutilation of a face, which is pretty interesting and harkens back to the Friday the 13th days where the screen faded to white. Let's see, what else do you have? You have a very elaborate murder scene of a guy getting killed on a fireworks podium, and this scene to me was just like one of the highlights of the top murder scenes in this film. The acting is medium at best. It looks like everybody got together on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon to film this, and it pretty much works. Isaac Hayes' character is probably the most memorable, although his lines are pretty flat. Now, a lot of people, like I said, didn't see this. I always thought it was about a killer Uncle Sam puppet, but, you know. So it's put out by Blue Underground. And I know this DVD is pretty much limited, this Blu-ray, but it is entertaining, and it does capture the spirit of, patriotism. Obviously, Uncle Sam is sort of a do-gooder in the fact that he wants to punish the people that talk bad about America, draft dodge, spray paint, army tombstones, and the like. So there is a moral aspect. And honestly, you could see shades of William Lustig's other work. Maniac, there's some pretty wicked scenes that rival that. Don't really know too much else about the film, only I watched it. It's pretty entertaining. Robert Forster's in the film, and he was actually the ATF agent in Jackie Brown. So, it's interesting to see that. So the tagline is pretty cute. It says, "Uncle Sam wants you dead." And I thought that was pretty much original, and it works very well. You could tell the budget for this wasn't too much. They look like they spent all their budget on, gore as well as location. A lot of extras in this film, too, because they have a mock 4th of July celebration going on here. Obviously, this takes place from July 31st till July 4th in the timeline of the film, so it's pretty interesting. Not the greatest hack and slash movie I've ever seen, but it's up there. It's very watchable. Just you can't take it seriously, And it does harken back to Maniac Cop 3, where Voodoo ends up bringing Uncle Sam back from the dead, but they really don't explain how it happened. You just see a scene, and then boom. So check out Uncle Sam. It's a fun horror film, but it's very low on the spectrum because it could have had more substance, more story, but for what it is, it really works. So 3 out of 5 stars. Greg Warner says check it out. Also, I want to tell you guys, if you guys have watched any of my VHS reviews, I just read an article. Shudder actually has picked up the franchise, and on August 31st, I believe, they are going to release directly on the Shudder platform VHS 99. Apparently, the Shudder executives and the people higher up have actually seen very, very much promise in the franchise, so they are going to continue it. Now, if VHS 94 was a big step up from VHS Viral, so I am sort of expecting very, very lurid tales, and I want to see how far they're going to go with this. Because with a franchise like that, the basic premise of it is that there's these VHS tapes floating around with all this crazy shit on them. And you can just keep going and going and going. And maybe in the last VHS entry, you could sort of show where these tapes are coming from, or if people are mailing it into a corporation and they're turning around and selling it. The possibilities are pretty much endless. But it's nice to see Shudder take the reins of a horror franchise and see what they can do with it, because I think they know pretty much terror and horror. I think that's pretty much a given. So there's that. What else was I going to talk about? There was something else I wanted to talk about, and I just don't remember for the life of me what it was. But oh yeah, I don't want to talk about. In other news, in sports news, Vince McMahon, about a week ago, has stepped down from being the CEO of the World Wrestling Federation amid sexual accusations. Now, a lot of you may remember that he had a steroid trial in the 80s and he almost got put away in jail, and it looked that way for a little bit. So, he's also had lawsuits. Anybody remember the Owen Hart fall? He was sued for that. You know, the World Wrestling Federation was sued for not being safe and this and that. But to me, you know, I grew up watching wrestling, and I must have seen him on TV every Monday night for about 4 or 5 years. And he has had pretty much the longest running television appearance ever. However, I think it's going to change the face of wrestling once this thing is said and done. Now, there is a pay-per-view, I believe, tonight, or it was yesterday, and I'm not sure, because I don't really keep track of that stuff anymore. Brock Lesnar, one of their top stars, just decided to walk out amid allegations. Now, he has a last man standing match with Roman Reigns. We're going to see if he shows up or when that goes on. But me personally, I don't like WWE. I used to like it, guys, and I have tons of it, but I like AEW. Now, if you're looking for something with a little bit of an edge, cooler wrestlers and a lot more gimmick matches, such as cage matches, empty arena matches, anarchy in arena matches, dog collar matches, stick to AEW, which I hope they come up with their own streaming service soon, because I'm going to get it. Also in the news, I don't know if you guys may have heard, they are rushing out Call of Duty games left and right now. They want to have 2 brought out every year. They are redoing Call of Duty Modern Warfare Part 2. That was one of the biggest selling games of that time period. So I'm on the fence about getting it. I always like the Call of Duty games, but to me, they do get a little repetitious, and the one in space was just pure ridiculousness. I have never finished that game. So I'm hoping that, you know, they do a heck of a good job, and it's awesome. So I'm thinking about getting that. What else was I going to say? They look like they're moving forward on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. There was a Twitter, because I follow that game, that Kane Hodder and a bunch of the other people with a group picture saying hard at work. And I believe if Kane Hodder's involved in this project, guys, it's going to be awesome. Nothing really else going on that I know of. But, yeah, it was interesting. I did the Wolfen review the other day. And believe it or not, I didn't know it, but the day I did the review was the day that it actually premiered in theaters. And, after I got done with the review, I came up and it was on my YouTube feed. You know, when you open it up, it was in there. And I just, again, would like to say thank you for, you know, you guys, all you guys being there. I know that my last review, I told you basically what was going on with us and why I didn't drop a review. And there was a lot of people that came up to me where I work and expressed their condolences and said if you need anything. And I just want to say, you guys, you know, I really appreciate that. You know, and, you know, it's nothing like having a bunch of good friends. And there's one more thing, and this is directed to one person, and it's my best friend, Dre. So, Dre, saw your little TikTok thing or Facebook or whatever you put on there where you were working at, you know, Christmas in July, you were doing that thing. Well, let me tell you something, man. you need to call somebody, all right? Me and you go back a long time, all right? And believe it or not, brother, I miss you, okay? I wish I could be kicking movies with you right now, you know? But you don't return my calls, all right? You don't even send a message. I'm telling you to wake up and tell your boy what's up, because, man, I miss you, all right? And for those of you who don't know who Dre is, I'm going to give you just a tad backstory on this, and then we're going to end this, because a lot of you right now are going, yeah, who's he? I'm going to tell you this. Whenever I was in 3rd grade, and I can remember this pretty well, I was in Dassa McKinney Elementary. And Dre, his name was Andreas, right? He's in my class. And we lined up to go somewhere for a fire drill or something. This was like the first day of school. And I called him a name. I think he looked like an ape to me. So, and Dre, no disrespect intended, but, and I said, "Hey, ape face, what's up?" And then he picked on me, and I picked on him. But the thing was, he was always talking to me. We was always cool. Next thing you know how it is. He's coming over to my house to hang out. We had Atari at that time. He's playing Atari with me. We're playing Atari. I go to his house, right? Because he didn't live too far away. And I met his mom, met his sister, met both his sisters. And we became really good friends. And Dre was there every time I needed him. All right? Every time I had a problem, he was there. And the kid was so cool. Like, he moved to Emlenton, right? And he would say, "Dude, can I come up?" I say, "Yeah, you can come up." The kid would walk from Emlenton to Hilliard's. Now, if you're familiar with this area, you know how far of a walk that is. Dre also kept me from making a really bad mistake. And I never did thank him the proper way. See, Dre was staying overnight one time. Because, we boys, we hanging out drinking, we playing Nintendo, Sega, whatever. And I woke up next morning and I got in a fight with my mom. And it was a really nasty fight. And Dre and I ended up leaving. We went down to Walmart here, the local Walmart. And I went to the CD place. And that's when you had like the big car phones. You didn't have the little smartphones at that time. You had the big ass car phone, right? And was in my car for emergencies only. And I was so upset with mom. I'm like, "I ain't coming home. I ain't doing that." And Dre's like, "Greg, dude, you got to go home." I said, "The hell with that, man." I said, "I ain't going home." He said, "Greg, you got to go home." So I remember going to do whatever we is. And I called mom. And she was still upset with me. And she had every right to be. But called home because he insisted that I call home, guys. So I called home. And I came back home, and I was the bigger man. He told me to apologize. So I apologized. And Dre would know, because he was all over the country. I mean, he left his mom. He moved to Germany by himself. He was all over the place. And he was used to being on his own. That's what I'm saying. And he did not want me to turn out like him. So because of him, I was able to move back in the house. And I had a nice long talk with Dad. And Dre stayed over again that night, But I sometimes wonder, like, what would happen if he wasn't as good as a friend as he was and he just let me do whatever. I'd probably be in a mess. I might not be here cutting videos. I might not have the job that I want. So everything sort of spawned off to that. So Dre, I just want to say thank you, because I could have made a really bad mistake. And sometimes you need a friend to snap you back from being stupid, So Dre, I saw what you're doing, and whatever it is you're doing, man, I hope you're doing it good. Christmas in July, and all that stuff. Hope you're doing it. And I just want to know how you are. Give me a call sometime, man, and if you ever get a chance, why don't you come down here, man? We'll chop it up. We was We was all in the Two Live Crew when we was little, you know, and we were just one hell of a team. And I think I was the only person in the world that treated Dre like he should be treated. Because Dre knew everybody, but everybody took advantage of him, you know? Some people did. Not everybody, I shouldn't say that. And the kid had a really rough life. We done things, and I worry about him. Because when you have a friendship, it don't matter where you're at in the world. If you're like 500, you know, if you're states away or moved different continents, man, you're still friends, man. And that's the thing. Like Drake could come in here today, and we'd act like no time went past. And that's how you know you got something. It's just when people come into your life, man, and they're a big part of it. You know, you can't just let them go. You know what I mean? So Dre, if you're seeing this, man, please get a hold of me, talk to me, man. I miss the hell out of you. All right. I didn't say it in front of 45 people. I told you how important you were. But with that being said, so stay tuned for VHS 99. Definitely check out Uncle Sam. It's a pretty wicked slasher. I was very surprised. Um, Other than that, I got really nothing. Nothing really came down the pike that I know of. So, it's GW, and I will check you next week.